Hi everybody, welcome to our next episode of the Free Your Mind series. We are speaking today to the founder of Sahara Mental Health. His name is Naveed Rashid, and he will be discussing stamping out stigma through arts and sports. Naveed, would you like to introduce yourself and just some of the work that you do, please?
Yeah, my name's Naveed Rashid, as Sabrina just mentioned, founder of Sahara Mental Health, a non-profit community organization for children and young people, raising awareness and stamping out stigma through arts and sports, with a focus point on the BAME community, it's Black, Asian, and ethnic minorities. Um, so what we've done in the past, is that okay? Yeah. What we've done in the past is we've done a mental health awareness day for teachers that teach in the community, i.e. The mosques, the temples, gurdwaras, and the mandirs. With that is, with the teachers, they have that face-to-face contact with young people on a daily basis mostly. It depends I think with the gurdwaras and the temples, it's mostly weekends. But with the mosque and Islamic schools is Monday to Friday. So having that overview to know what to do, what approach to have if someone is suffering, and where to refer into. So that took place 2 years ago. After that, there was a 6 weeks boxing program at Jawi Khalid's Boxing Academy for children and young people, where altogether 60 young people take part over the 6 weeks, with 54 signing up in the end of it. Why I use sports and arts is with young people, to break this silence, you have to connect with them in a different way, what they enjoy. As you guys know, with the South Asian community, it's very hard to engage with adults and children and young people. You have to use a different method, something what they enjoy, to break their silence. So that took place for 6 weeks, and then after that, I have applied for funding to do some projects this year, but due to the current situation, obviously everything's on hold.
So Naveed, what would you say in terms of, obviously you said you've done your boxing programs and things like that, I'm going to temples. So in terms of working with Asian people, what would you say the biggest barriers are in regards to mental health?
I think it's the backlash, in the sense that if a young person is suffering or an adult is suffering, they will always think what other people will think. That's with majority of most communities. It's not even just the South Asian communities. If you go to the mainly English community, the high class English community, they have the same barriers too. Yep.
Naveed, you mentioned that you use sport as a form of medium to connect with the younger generation. Did once they enrolled onto the program in the 6 weeks, so from the start to the finish, at the end of it, did you find a difference in how they kind of, I suppose, their view on mental health? And also, I know you said it's hard to connect with the parents as well. Did you notice a change in the parents as well? And if so, what kind of impact did it have on them?
There has been quite a few changes in regards to, a lot of young people don't understand what mental health is. So obviously engaging with them on the first few week basis, then explaining to them what mental health is, the different illnesses in mental health, and then at the same time with the parents, is as they come there and the children start engaging and start getting on with the coaches what are teaching them and coaching them on a day-to-day basis, with them to break the silence that way too. Was that your question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it. That's pretty much it. You pretty much answered that.
Because at the moment, what we're doing for parents is a program around for lone parents. Is a 10-week program altogether, 10 sessions per parent, and it's for lone parents, expectant moms, and single parents with young children. So with that program, there's myself what does the assessment side of it, to give them advice and support, and then there's a coach who does the coaching side. So they do 10-week of the mental health side, explaining of obviously the problems. It might not even be related to mental health. It might be in regards to domestic violence, but the impact what it's having on their lives. So what we do is support them, as I'm a community point for victim care too. If it's in regards to hate crime too, if they're going through some hate crime with, or they're a victim of any other crime, obviously I can do a referral for them and put them through to victim care.
And just in terms of, you mentioned that you've approached various like religious institutions or like places of worship.
Yep.
Just how was that received in terms of your teachings and what you were going to approach them about, and how was that received within the local communities?
That's a really good response, because a lot of counsellors in Nottingham, they do have a lot of impact. Like for example, with the Sikh and Hindu community. So there's a lot of counsellors, Labour counsellors or Conservative counsellors who are involved actually in these faith centres and religious organisations. So it's approaching them and then going through them, or connect us with the leaders in the faith centres.
And you mentioned like there was counsellors within within your area.
Yep.
Where do you know if there's a local place or some sort of information center where one can find out more information or reach out to further, if it's organizations or further individuals that could help as well?
Yeah, there is other organisations. There's one organisation called Al Huraira. Assad Fazal, he runs the organisation. What's for children, young people, and adults too at the same time. So a lot of people who are suffering, young people who are suffering, we do refer to them, because I'm not a counsellor myself. So if there's signs, one, if it's serious, it's always contact A&E, or if it's not that serious, contact your local GP. But we would always refer them to a counsellor, a trained counsellor.
Naveed, I know that you mentioned that boxing is in the pipeline as a tool or a project to be used to engage with young people.
Yep.
What will that project look like, and how many participants do you think that you'd be able to reach with it?
For the next one?
Yeah.
For the next one, it all depends. It all depends on the current situation, really. I don't know how long that's going to go on for, really. Every day we see on the media is something new. So we do have a target each time. Last time around, it was the majority of the Muslim and the English community what we reached out to. Going forward, this time around, the funding what I applied for was for the Hindu and Sikh community, and not just in Nottingham and Derby too. And we will get some numbers. Last time we had 60 altogether, young people who took part. Boys were separate and girls were separate. And this time with Derby, we was hit the same numbers, and with Nottingham, the numbers can increase. But it's an ongoing thing, because that's one side of the funding. The funding what I applied for Sports England was boxing to take place in 5 different areas. So we can reach out to those young people and parents what are struggling and what can't travel. So hopefully in each session, and that's working with different organizations within different communities, we'll do a lot of work around other sports.
Would you be the delivery partner, or would you partner up with, you know, I don't know, boxing coaches or
Yeah,
experts especially?
usually we team up with boxing coaches. So mostly in boxing, I use Jawed Khalik, who's a former world champion, boxing champion. He's got his own gym set up called Jawed Khalik's Boxing and Fitness Academy in Nottingham. He's one of the coaches what we usually use, and then for the female classes, there's female boxing coaches in Nottingham. And then with the organizations within different areas, different organizations what do different sports, but they do have the facilities like sports hall or outside area. At the moment it's too cold, but going on in throughout the summer when it will be a lot warmer, we can use that outdoor space.
What, you know, with the project that you've done obviously before the pandemic with the boxing, like what would a typical session look like?
Typical session.
So in terms of engaging with young people, I'm just thinking of, you know, adults who might be listening in, or parents, you know, with young children who are looking for a safe space to send their children to take part in physical activity. What would they be expecting?
Young people going to enjoy themselves, obviously meeting same friends, because it's all about the circle of friends. Because sometimes the impact of someone feeling in low mood or something, it could be the circle of friends they're in. And sometimes they might not want to engage in a circle, you know, do a physical activity in a circle. So with boxing gyms, they can either do it in a group or they can do it individually.
And are these are group sessions, are they?
Yeah, they're usually group sessions, but it all depends. It all depends how advanced the young people are engaging in the boxing. But some of them might have been going to the boxing gym for quite a long time, and then as soon as the program started, they decided they want to go on a program instead.
You know, you spoke about having separate classes for like girls and boys.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is to have a cultural understanding that actually that possibly is a need? One, obviously, from a culture perspective, but also, you know, regardless of culture and ethnicity, that sometimes girls just like will feel more comfortable being with other girls. How important have you found that to be, and have you actually found girls from those minority communities engage in boxing, and especially girls who've never boxed before?
In the last session, we had quite a lot of girls who come to regular sessions, and what it was is, especially from the Muslim point of view, where guys and girls can't mix when it comes to boxing. But with the other communities, it's the same too. With the Sikh community too, obviously religious beliefs and strict. But if it was the case where if you put the religion to one side and girls do want to mix with boys and do boxing, so they can break that little barrier, it wasn't an issue. So we did have some mixed sessions here and there, where it was all about choice.
Naveed, I'm just interested in how the mental health aspect integrates into it. So, on the face of it, would it just be, you know, a boxing camp? They'd come along to enjoy themselves doing boxing, and then how would, you know, if you did come across a mental health, you know, situation, how was it dealt with and what was done?
The last session we had, there wasn't no one at all, because I think it was fairly new. It's the first time I'd done it, and it was more about engaging with them young people. But as a lot of them did sign up after, and there are a few individuals what have been contacting me on one-to-one over the phone, the consent of their parents too at the same time, just telling me what they're going through and what I've advised them to do. But at the same time, I have said to them, you're free to contact me anytime. But I have said to him at the same time that get a referral in with CAMS. What's out there at the same time? Yes, the waiting lists are long, but the services are there at the same time.
So was it sort of like, they're doing boxing and at the same time sort of like an arm around approach and sort of say,
Yeah, it's more of one, they're doing boxing, and one, it's engaging with them. Once you engage with them, they start trusting you, and then they start breaking the silence. Does that answer your question? Sorry,
yeah,
that's very
definitely. Yeah, definitely. I was just wondering, like you
Yeah.
said, how they'd sort of, if they were in a situation, what you do. But you've answered that question. Thank you. Obviously, you've mentioned the other sort of work that you've been doing. So when you were going into the temples, you mentioned a few of the different topics that you touched. But would you like to just elaborate more on what you were delivering in there?
Mostly was obviously with the Xander leaflet. Everyone's on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook nowadays anyway. So mostly connecting with the local councillors in different areas of Nottingham. Every councillor does have a connection with each community centre or faith centre within their community or within the wider community. So mostly just engaging through them. So obviously speaking to them, explaining what's happening, what's taking place, and just asking them to sport. Most of them have been sporting.
Okay, thank you. Just one last question from me. We mentioned that the actual topic was sort of stamping out stigma through arts and sports. So what are your future sort of aspirations and where do you want to take it? Because I know it's quite a wide, lens that you've got there through arts and sports. So what about the art side? How do you
The arts side of this year funding, what I applied for was 10 weeks of music. So young people, I done the age range 14 to 18, young people what suffer. I want to break the silence through poetry, rapping or singing. I had 10 weeks booked in a music studio where they could write and then perform and create a CD what would be distributed free of charge. And that was the art side of it. The dance side, I did think of on the dance side of it too at the same time. I have been speaking to dance coaches too at the same time, but there's nothing in the pipeline at the moment. But with the music side, there is something in the pipeline. It's just all about matter of time until the studios open up.
Okay, that's interesting. Obviously, with the arts side of it, you mentioned the music side of it and introducing that to the young people. How do you feel as though those people, when you sort of introduce them to these sort of programs, is it sort of you start it off and say, we are here for you, and if you need anyone to speak to, I'm here to refer you to people. Or with young people, I feel as though you also need to be a little bit sort of not make it such of an issue. So do you sort of just sort of say, we're here for you if you need to speak to anyone, or is it sort of, we are here from a mental health approach and this is how we're going to do it? Which sort of stance do you take on it?
Don't get me wrong, like at the start, the leaflet just goes out. It says clearly Sahara Mental Health, so they know it's related to mental health anyway. So do the program. It is mentioned at the same time. We do say, if you need any support, we're here for you. But we just let them get on with it, because if they're singing about what they're going through their singing, you will learn more what they're actually going through. So, but then there is that support there all the way to the end. Like I have got some volunteers who are advocates too at the same time. Male advocates and female advocates what will be more taking over the projects, more getting involved in the project. My side is mostly trying to engage with different communities and getting more communities involved and getting the artwork on and applying for funding. With the advocates, obviously, it's more engagement in the sense that being there, that one-to-one support, and then advising them with other services what are there.
Okay, so in your team, is it you? How many of the people are in your team? How many of your
Altogether, there's about 20 of us.
Okay, so it's quite
yeah. Only recently, while everything was going on, obviously I was contacting a lot of people through Instagram, and a lot of people showed a lot of interest and got involved. So there's altogether 6 in Derby and the remaining 14 in Nottingham.
Are you looking to branch out even further, or is that...
Leicester was on the map. So Leicester's got a very big South Asian community.
Yeah.
And then I did have quite a lot of cities on the map, but as the current situation, everything's a bit difficult at the moment.
Yeah, definitely.
But hopefully going forward in a few months' time, see where we are with everything else, and once we know where we are, then can start planning.
Okay, sounds good. Venetia, did you have a question?
And Naveed, I know you touched on it with Sabrina. I just wanted to ask, you know, the participants that you have that are within your the different programs that you have.
Yep.
Are they through referrals from mental health organisations and agencies, or is it a case where, like you said, that the flyer is open to all, and then when those participants come in, you'll then gauge, whether a referral needs to be made? Do you know what I mean? Or is it a mix?
Yeah.
I just wondered, really.
It's mixed, really. At the same time, we do accept referrals from other organizations if they want to refer anyone into the program. But the majority of the time, when you got a leaflet and you're sending it out to everyone can get involved. Otherwise, you're discriminating against one side of the community and just using, because you don't know until someone suffers, until they get engaged. They engage with you, they break that silence.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples of specific case studies, but without mentioning names, of young people that you feel have kind of flourished through a particular program? So, for example, it might be a young participant who was really reserved and quiet when they first came in, and through, for instance, the boxing project, you notice a significant change in behavior. Like, do you have any examples that you could share?
I'll be honest, at this moment in time, early stages, there's no examples. There is an example of a mother what contacted me 2 days ago in regards to her son. When he's alone, something's bothering him. Well, I have spoke to him this afternoon, and I said at the end of the day, get a referral in with camps, what they have already done. And I said any support what I can give on my side or advice I can give. And I have spoke to the young person himself too. I said ring me anytime or text me anytime. But other than that, there hasn't been nothing in that sense, because once you do a 6-week program, that 6-week finishes so quick is unbelievable, unless they carry on engaging with the boxing gym where they stay on.
So my question would be, how do you evidence impact of what you're trying to achieve? Because like you've spoken about, that sports is universal, our art forms are universal, and I think we all agree that they can be a great platform to engage with young people and to connect with young people. And it seems like the byproduct of the connection and the engagement with sport or art would be that they develop positive mental health, they feel better about themselves, and they can develop a social network through engaging with other people that are there, other young people that are there. But how do you go about measuring some form of impact? And I know that it can be quite difficult, because it's not necessarily just about people opening up, but I'm just thinking, like, if I was a parent,
Yeah.
I might decide to send my children to those sports because I also equally love sport, and they might really like boxing too. So it might be for the social element of it. However, I know as a byproduct, they'll feel good about themselves in any case, you know, so they'll be developing their overall well-being. I'm just thinking that, you know, for people that are listening, how do you measure that impact? Do you measure that impact? And is it a case where it's early doors, that you haven't been running as many projects to actually be able to say that, yeah, we've through this program X amount of people have, you know, have benefited. These are some of the stories. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. What we've been doing is, before the programs actually started, we've done questionnaires. Questionnaires went out to a lot of young people where they were dropped off at mostly Islamic schools and mosques, because that was the one community was the first focus point. And a lot of questionnaires were filled out, Eid galas and Eid bazaars, what took place just after Ramadan and things like that, where families and young people were there. So there was a questionnaire for obviously adults, or was a separate questionnaire where you can take their details anyway. And for young people, there was one where obviously there's not much mention of too much detail, but a questionnaire was filled. But then at the same time, how we will measure it is halfway through the program, there's another questionnaire they will fill in, like an evaluation. And then towards the end, and a lot of questions are, one, what did you enjoy? And then we do have the odd few questions here and there. If you was feeling in low mood, what would you do? And then some examples would be of tell a parent, some would be internet, different questions just to see what they would actually do, how much awareness they have got within them.
Do you, because one of my things is always that it's how much information would young people put on the questionnaire, and how honest is that feedback? And sometimes it's just a case of, I want to just get it done quickly. So and I think the other thing is also difficult is actually how do you measure impact, because a questionnaire is a way of doing that, isn't it? But I think what I was interested in just really general observations from, like you've mentioned that you've got a large team, like 20 people is quite a large team to have working within the organization. So I just was really interested in how, you know, through observations, through following a program, have there been any examples of, you know, like I said, that obvious examples where young people have kind of have been thriving or flourished through a particular project, but not necessarily through questionnaires, but I mean just through the connections that some of the adults would have had, you know, that the coaches would have had with the young people.
I think with most of the people who come to our program, they're very, what can I say, honest, and they do connect. Either someone knows someone. You know, when in most communities, everyone knows everyone. It depends what community you come from. If it's the Muslim community, everyone knows everyone. Either, you know, their uncles or, you know, their aunties and so on. And same with Jabir Khalid, the boxing coach. He's been around for a long time. He does know a lot of them. A lot of them do connect and do look up to him as a father. So a lot of young people are usually honest, and there has been cases where if they either tell him or they tell me what they're going through. So a lot of people are honest. It hasn't, in the last program what we done, there wasn't no one, what I would say, what did they engage with us properly at the same time too. And it's a lot of people what did attend the program signed up afterwards anyway, so we see them every day when we go down to the gym.
So how important do you think then role modeling is? Because like you said that, you know, you've got a former professional boxer who young people look up to, because ultimately, you know, you want to use these platforms to engage with young people to improve mental health and well-being, with the hope that some of them may open out with regards to how they're feeling. But like you mentioned earlier, not all young people have issues.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, when we talk about mental health, sometimes it's very negative, that you've got to have a problem. Oh, you've got a mental health problem. Sometimes people just want to have a conversation. They just want greater friendships. They just want to go and have a laugh. This is a way of doing that, isn't it? That, you know, in terms of a social network, you can engage with lots of different children, different types of young people. And you've got like a former boxer who's helping with that. How important do you think the role modeling aspect has been to engage with those young people so that they do? And when I mean open out, I don't mean about I'm feeling really sad. What I mean is that they just naturally become a lot more conversational and open up generally, because this isn't really just about people who, let's say, in inverted commas, have problems. This is about, like you said, it's open to everybody. And I think as a byproduct, if you take part in any form of sport or arts, you'll have the feel good factor. You'll feel, you know, a lot. Your mind will be a lot more healthy.
Yeah.
Because you've got something to focus on, and this allows that. So I guess two parts of the question really is how important do you think the role modeling piece has been, and do you feel that the person that you have coaching in the boxing has been able to empathize, because maybe through being an elite athlete and that being pressurized in itself, has gone through certain things, you know, within himself?
I think the good thing with the role model is, one, it's someone they look up to. It's very rare you see professional boxers what do take on that career of opening up a gym and going forward. And it's very hard. If you look at many professional boxers in the UK, yes, they might have gyms set up, but it's very hard for you to connect with them. Like, go to the gym and actually meet them. But with it's even having that with that role model too. At the same time, a lot of people, for example, on the art side, if you look at my Instagram, I've got a lot of Punjabi artists who have gave me shout outs. But at the same time, it's a lot of people who look up to them at the same time too. One, they're a good singer. At the same time, they've said sport, Sahara Mental Health, and so on. Once they see that, what can I say, celebrity or ex-celebrity reaching out to the communities, it removes a certain barrier too. Do you know where I'm coming from? So I think it's very important. At the same time, it all depends on the role model and the coach at the same time, how they engage. I know with Jawi Khalik, obviously, I've known him for many years too at the same time. And it's only recent I decided I wanted to work with him. But a lot of young people will go to that gym, different age groups from different faith backgrounds, they do look up to him. And he does always teach them. Recently, he was on the news around another project what I'm involved in, what I'm a founder and CEO of Down Nice Resort, where we do mentoring to reduce knife crime and youth violence in the city. So it's the same with the positive message what he sends out with all these programs too. One is coaching them, but at the same time he's talking to them and engaging with them, and that's the most important. Because you don't want a coach all day who's training all day but not engaging with young people. One day he's not getting no benefit from it. Yes, he's training them, but then they're not gaining nothing out of it.
Yeah, no, thanks, Naveed, for explaining that.
Naveed, I just wanted to add something in that. You mentioned at the start of the call that you were doing some work with teachers as well. Again, do you want to just elaborate on what you've been doing with the teachers?
Yeah, I done a mental health awareness day for teachers about 2 years ago now, 2018. It was the end of 2018. It was a mental health awareness day where we had different speakers from different communities, coaches, counselors, what spoke about the impact, the barriers in the communities. And as most of the teachers, mostly it was designed for the Muslim teachers, what teach in Islamic schools, mosques, and community centers in the evening. So those that see young people on a day-to-day basis in the evening, just to know what signs to see and what to do next and what approach to have. Altogether, we had 28 teachers who attended the day. A lot of counsellors what did come on the day. From the politics side, we had a Lord Mayor for the day who stayed all day. And there was a lot of engagement for us. So every time a speaker spoke in regards to mental health and what they do within their organization, at the end of it, there was an engagement session too at the same time. So there was a lot of engagement for them teachers to have a better understanding around mental health.
Okay, interesting. So you mentioned that they discussed signs to see for younger children. Now, just imagine there's people listening now that have got young children.
Yeah.
What are some of those signs to see that they sort of mentioned on the day?
A lot of signs were mostly around the low mood, not engagement, not enough engagement, engaging with, for example, a lot of young people would do, for example, if they go to Islamic school or a mosque where they learn the religion, a lot of young people, when they are suffering, they don't engage in the sense that they don't really speak to no one. And usually, sometimes at that time, something's bothering them. It's not always the case. It might be some kids are just want to get on with the studies and go home. But majority of the time, there will be something on their mind. It might not even be related to mental health. It could be related to something else. But it's very important, obviously, for the teachers at the same time to regularly engage with young people, see how they are, how they're getting on.
Okay, and what was, you mentioned the engagement session at the end. So what was involved there?
Engagement session was after every session. So one of the questions was what kind of barriers are within the communities, and a lot was around stigma within the community. There's a loads what was mentioned. I'll be honest with you, it was about 2 years ago. I totally forgot. So I remember odd few bits here and there. What it was in regards to. But there was a lot of discussions on the day.
Okay. No, it's brilliant to hear that you're doing such different work and bits of work, and there's so many of you in your team, and you're in different parts of the country looking to expand. Hopefully, with COVID at the minute, it's a bit of a situation where things are on hold. But it's been really great to speak to you today.
Thank you.
But thanks for coming on. For anyone listening, we will be posting information about our next webinar on our Instagram pages and our other social media sites. But other than that, thank you, Naveed, for today.
Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Manisha. Thank you, Vina.